It sounds like Philip Sedin is on the horizon at some point.
He would be getting close. Obviously, you saw today. We banged hard. We had some drills specifically designed to offensively get to the inside, and he was part of it. So he'd be really close. He'd be in that day-to-day, I would think, for now.
What's realistic for him? I mean, he didn't exactly light it up when those 9 games he was in, and now he's been out.
Realistic for the day back, or realistic for expectations on him? I think for him, again, I want to hold him accountable like the rest of our guys. Even the last 3 games, we're 1-1-1, but you guys, I mean, we're playing defensively very well. We're not giving our opponents much space and ice, and we'd ask the same of him. Be connected with our group, with what we're trying to do right now. We're flowing 4 lines. We're playing well defensively. We're getting chances. We're getting looks. I mean, this Philly game didn't look much different than Vegas. The difference was we found a way to finish in the Vegas game and not, unfortunately, in the Philly game. So just ask him to join the party, if you will, with the way we've been playing.
Where does he fit in the lineup?
I think the good thing with us becoming more healthy up front is I like our depth. So, I mean, you've seen us in the way we play. The minutes are pretty spread around. Be careful of being like a first, second, third, fourth, bottom 6. I mean, there's games we've chased some offense with Joe Villano. There's other games he's been a true 4th-line center. So the good thing about having some depth right now, I think he could fit anywhere within those. He's going to get a good center and some guys that are doing pretty well no matter where he goes.
Derek, are you hopeful to get Sedin in the lineup before Sunday when you have that 10-day break? Or?
Yes, we'd be hopeful that he would get in one of these next 3 games. Yes.
Derek, do you have a projection or a target for how many games you sold?
Yeah, he's on pace right now for 58 if he stayed on the same pace, which is not awful. That would probably be in that 10, 11, 12 range within the league, but obviously those 9 or 10 guys ahead of him have experienced that before. This is uncharted territory. So it's a really good question because we have been targeting and thinking a lot about it. I do think we've rolled out a tired Ville Husso in some games, and he has not been his sharpest, especially what you saw from some of his play early on. So we still want to manage that. So right now we're on pace for 58. Could we get that a little less in the mid-50s? Would be a good target, but we do feel he's our best chance to win on a lot of given nights too. So it's just that balance of where it's going to end up and how we use him.
Are goalies relatively honest when you talk to them about how they're feeling?
No, I think that's a great question too, because I think there's some maturity in that. I mean, he couldn't wait to play after the break versus Pittsburgh, and he was as sick can be, and he never led that on to anyone on our staff. So there was probably a lack of immaturity there. He was unavailable for a week after that, and we ended up playing him, again, if we had that back. So I think that's just some trust and some maturing for him, where I think it's important to communicate that. I mean, I have experience with Andrei Vasilevsky, and we had to reel him back in, where Vasilevsky would practice for 2 hours if he could. He wanted extra ice before, he wanted extra ice after. And then when the Mets wanted to play him 65 games, there were some times we had to reel him back in, talk to him about the importance of taking a morning skate off when it was optional, sitting out of practice, not taking 100 pucks 15 minutes before a game. So that was maturing for him, and I think we're in a growth with Ville and his development also.
Do you guys see him as a guy, whether it's this year or down the line, who can handle that close to 60 kind of workload? Or is
we certainly hope so, yes. We think talent-wise, for sure. That would make him a number 1. We think there's upside for sure. to be that number one, but he's got to learn, this is uncharted territory. We knew it. I've talked about it a ton in the press, maybe even too much, because, we worry about playing them, and it's a marathon within the season. So, but yes, we think he can get there. I think there's some maturing, how he handles his off ice. This next off season is going to be big for him, and so yeah, I think there's some. We do see that in him.
On a given day, like you said, he's often going to be your best chance to win. I guess,
Of course.
How is it to make a decision that goes counter to that when you have to look big?
Very tough, because we're coaches. We want to live in the moment. We've been flirting and hanging around this 500 mark, which is fine, it's solid, but we want more. I mean, that's just the human nature of it. And again, he does give us our best chance, but also we've probably rolled out a tired Ville Husso that's cost us a little bit too, and that's us having to think about and manage the big picture too. Sherrod's day-to-day personal day. He'll be back tomorrow.
And Tyler, probably not tomorrow then.
Probably not tomorrow, the fact that he did not skate today, but he's in that day-to-day. We were hoping to have him I came here this morning expecting him to practice, and he obviously needed another day not to practice, so I would not expect him tomorrow.
Hey, Derek, going back to the goaltending, do you expect, I would imagine, he still gets a couple of the starts this week, and then be pretty much that's decided who gets that third start, or
It
would
would
it be Halbert?
It would be Helberg, yes.
This year, okay.
And we feel with these remaining games that they'll get at least two of them. Again, it's a day-to-day. I'm almost catching myself being contradictory to what I just said, but we've also went through some of these games where he's literally facing 6, 7, 8 shots. 6, 7, 8 chances against. We have not had a ton of volume against of late. If the next couple of games look like that, it's something we'd have to discuss on that back-to-back.
Bertuzzi possible for that back-to-back, or you're just gonna wait till?
Yeah, Bertuzzi's a true day-to-day, and it's just, I don't know if you have, lower body, there could be setbacks. We were hoping to have him Tuesday. We're hoping to have him by the end of the week, but there is true day-to-day. There's a possibility. Would it make sense with an 8-day break not to use them? That'll be a day-to-day evaluation, probably the expertise of the trainers.
Derek, we are starting to get into that area, the time of the season where all the trade speculation and all that. In Tampa, it was probably a little different for you guys down there. How does it affect a locker room and guys individually?
I think that's real. That's a great question, because that's real. That's the business part of it. But I think the guys, it's on both ends. But obviously, in Tampa, you knew we were going to do everything we could to add. Here, we're still building. So, and I think guys, it's uncomfortable. It's real. But I also think because it's real, guys understand it. So, I think that's going to be a reality. And I think our guys will handle it just fine.
You're not quite at that point yet, but for you as a first-time NHL head coach, is that uncharted territory for you too, just kind of managing that situation?
Of course, yes. But again, I think control the things you kind of control, and one of them is being consistent with our efforts. And we'd all be lying to ourselves if we said our efforts have not been there. I know it's frustrating for the average fan because we beat Toronto. We win in Vegas. Those are impressive wins for anyone. And then we can't beat Columbus. We can't beat Philadelphia, it's every win in the NHL is very hard to do. But even through all of that, our effort has been pretty consistent. Again, I can only reference my experience in Tampa. We've gone 3 or 4 games of late. We've literally given up 7 or 8 chances against. We may have done that once all year in Tampa. That's different. Andre Vasilevsky, Cooch, point, Stammer make a play. But our guys are finding a way to play pretty consistent. And what I like is those underlying numbers are showing it now. Where, you look back at analytically the last couple of games, we've given up. That's winning hockey. We've literally given up very, very little to some pretty good teams. So consistency's been there. we were hoping to turn into more outcome.
Derek, one more, Sedin. What would you describe him as? As a player, because he has had opportunity on the power play and top line with his players, and it doesn't really seem like he's a grinder. Like, what is he?
It's a great question. I think he's probably caught in between a little bit himself. You love the potential, the fact that he scored at lower levels. Obviously, he has not in his, 160-ish games here. But he can skate. I think a little of it's confidence. I think if he's a shoot-first mentality guy, I think that would help his overall game. But I think when he's skating, he's got some offensive confidence. He's a guy that can push some offense. And again, statistically, it hasn't been there yet in his career, but you see flashes of it. I just think a little more consistency in his game.
A high-scoring affair last time you guys played San Jose, I believe it was 7-4. What kind of are you looking for entering in tomorrow night from the offense?
More offense. I mean, you saw our practice today. That was all about getting to the inside, getting to the hard area. Last time we played, we did score 7 against them, but there was a couple hard area goals in there. So we're not built to be an offensive juggernaut, which is fine, but there's times our offense is stalled, and we're in here when we scored 1 the other night, 3-2. We're, outside of, Toronto, open netter 4. Since that Winnipeg game where we scored 7, offense has been hard. So this opponent, any opponent, being harder in those areas, harder on goalies, harder, get some ugly goals in there when your offense is struggling. Thanks, guys.